That is how the portfolio pyramid works. But what do you need to do next? Well, first, you need to assess your risk tolerance before you start to allocate your dollars. For some of you out there, your risk tolerance isn't high enough to even go into tier 2 or tier 3. So you must make sure that first you have the risk tolerance or the tolerance available if the market goes down. You need to be able to stay in there, or you need to be willing to buy in these second 2 tiers. If you're not, then you probably are just well made up for the foundation. And building a foundation is an incredible way to build wealth. You can become a multi-millionaire with the financial foundation. So you want to make sure that you have that foundation first. And so you may be saying to yourself, well, how do I figure out what my risk tolerance is? We're going to do an entire episode on that. So make sure you're following this podcast. But I'll give you a couple of questions here to ask yourself when you get started. First, what is your investment time horizon? How long do you plan on holding these investments? Is it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? In my opinion, you should not even consider an investment unless you're willing to hold it for 10 years or longer. And so if you're not willing to hold it for 10 years or longer, then you most likely are making a short-term financial decision. Wouldn't go with that whatsoever. 2, how do you react, or how would you react if the market had a 20, 30, or 40% drop? For some of you, you think to yourself, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I'm going to buy more because whether it's socks or stocks, I like things on sale. And so when the market drops, you see that as stocks on sale and you want to buy more. Maybe you're someone out there who says, oh my goodness, I'm going to pull my hair out. I'm going to panic and I'm going to be checking my investment app every single second when the market drops. Let me give you an example of this. Our DMs, every single time there has been a pullback over the course of the last 6 years, our DMs or our email box has flooded with people saying, what should I do? The market is dropping. What should I do with my money? Should I pull it out? What should I be doing? If you do that, if you are the type of person who panics when the market goes down, I want you to then make sure that you stay in the foundation as all of your portfolio until you become better when it comes to your risk tolerance. Next, do you have a fully funded emergency fund? Do you have that 6-month emergency fund? That's going to help you with your risk tolerance and be a little more comfortable. And are you carrying high interest debt? That is another one that needs to be paid off over time. And the closer you are to retirement, the more you need to lean towards this foundation tier because it's really, really important. Now, step 5, the next thing you need to do is understand the right accounts for each of these tiers. So when it comes to the foundation, doing your retirement accounts with that foundation is really, really important. Your retirement accounts should be filled up with foundational assets. It should be filled up with assets that are going to help give you that foundation for your retirement. Index funds, ETFs, target date retirement funds, those investments that have been proven historically over time to be great assets for those who are retirees. When it comes to some of the growth stuff, you can look at a Roth IRA or a taxable brokerage account for the growth stuff. Why? Because Roth IRAs have tax-free growth. And so if you are looking at dividend stocks or you're looking at stuff that you think could grow faster, that is an option. For me, I still like index funds and ETFs in my Roth IRA. My basic rule is I keep the foundational stuff in my retirement accounts. And then when I add some extra things, then I'll put it in a taxable brokerage account. Then I play with the money that way. So that's the way I have it in my foundation, is having the speculation. That's going to be a taxable brokerage account. Maybe you open a crypto account, something like a Coinbase account or whatever else you like to use. Maybe you open up a trading account if you're interested in looking at gold or silver or some of these other things. Or maybe you go and actually buy the physical asset, like I was talking about with sports cards. You can go buy physical gold. You can buy silver coins. You can buy all these different things that would help you overall when it comes to this. So an interesting way also to buy gold, by the way, as a lot of people don't think about it this way, you can buy gold jewelry, for example, then sell it when the price goes up. It's wearable if you're interested in, having something like that. Obviously, the opportunity cost of losing that could happen, but at the same time, that is another interesting way to think about that. Now, step 6 is once you start to set up some of this tier, you want to automate the process, meaning automatically contributing to your investments every single month. And you should be automatically contributing to your foundation with the majority of your money. And then as time goes on, then you can start to shift and add automations toward the growth layer and then the speculative layer as well. Those are going to be the areas that you can look. And then I want you to adjust this pyramid as life changes. So how do we adjust the pyramid as life changes? We're going to think about this in 2 different phases, and I'm going to think about 3 different investors, okay? So for most people out there, when you are investing your money, you need to focus on the 2 core foundational ways to invest your dollars. One is to invest for growth, meaning you are trying to grow your money and you are in the growth phase when it comes to building wealth. Most people who are working a 9 to 5 or who are working building a business, they are in the growth phase. They are trying to build a foundational portfolio so that when they become financially independent, they can then move on to the next phase, which is preservation. So you have the growth phase and you have the preservation phase. And when you are growing and accumulating, that's where you want to be more aggressive. And so you want to have more stocks in your portfolio, most likely, unless your risk tolerance is really rough, then you want to make sure that you have more stocks in your portfolio. As you get closer to the accumulation phase, you're going to add in more bonds. So for example, we just did this with my parents. I talked about this in the Master Money newsletter. If you are not subscribed, make sure you check the links down below in the show notes and subscribe to the Master Money newsletter, where we give you a 5-minute tip every single week to help you with your money. It is going to be high value for you, I promise. But when we go through this, we just talked about this. I set my parents up with a 70-30 portfolio. They're in their late 60s. And so we set up a portfolio for them based on their risk tolerance of 70% of stocks and 30% of bonds. And so we set this portfolio up. They were comfortable with it. They fit their asset allocation. Maybe for you, when you get to the preservation phase, you want to be 50-50. You want to be 50% stocks, 50% bonds. Maybe you want to be 40-60 because you have a really, really low risk tolerance. If that's the case, no problem, but your portfolio just isn't going to grow as much. But when you hit the preservation phase, you do want to add in either bonds, cash, or some people stay invested in all stocks. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And especially if your portfolio is large enough, you can absolutely do that. So those are some things that I just want you to think through as we go through this step by step. Now, as life changes, if you're a young investor, pushing speculation slightly higher up to 10% and reducing bonds in the foundation could be something that you're interested in doing. Getting closer to that 10% number is going to be much more enticing for you, but you got to have the core foundation of your first 100 to 200K before you can even get to that realm. Secondly, as investors with 10 years left in retirement, you may want to start adding a little more bonds in your portfolio and reducing the overall speculation that you hold. That may be a move that you want to make. And then if there's major life events, if you have marriage or kids or a job change, those are good trigger points to revisit your asset allocation, because some of my young investors out there who then get married and have kids, you want to make sure that you're looking back at your asset allocation. You don't have your whole allocation in crypto or whatever else. You want to make sure that you are building a foundation for your family that can be a wealth building foundation. That's the big core of this that I want most people to think about when they are building out their asset allocation. Perfect. Now, I'm going to talk through some of the common mistakes of each and every single phase, but for anybody out there who is interested, we are going to do a live masterclass with me on the call that will walk you through step by step the portfolio pyramid. We're going to go through the portfolio pyramid. I'm going to put a link down below. It is completely free. If you want to join that, it'll be live with me. After, you can ask me questions about the portfolio pyramid and about building out portfolios if you have them, but we're going to put a link down below in the show notes for you so that you can check that out. First, let's talk about mistakes on the foundation tier. The foundation tier, again, should be 85% of your portfolio, and this should be where we are thinking through, making sure we have the foundation. Now, the number one mistake that I see people make is they start at the top instead of the bottom. A lot of people will start by investing in gold or investing in cards or investing in Bitcoin. And this is very common for young investors. They start with the wrong thing. And I am guilty of this. When I was 20 years old, I started buying penny stocks and I lost all my money in one day. So I don't want that for any of you out there, and I am so thankful for that experience. The reason why I'm thankful for that experience is because if it was successful, if it ended up being successful, that would have probably been more detrimental to me than the fact that I lost all my money in one day, because I didn't have a lot of money at that time, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And so index funds don't make for exciting investing. And for young investors, you want some excitement. I get it. You want that thrill. You don't really have a lot of responsibilities and you want to buy some of those investments. But in reality, you need to build up your core. This is going to be the area and the foundation that helps you long-term the most. And this is really where your wealth is going to be built because you have the longest time horizon of anybody else. So you have the greatest asset of all, which is time. So I would rather you invest your extra dollars or your fund money into things that are going to help you grow your income so that you can fund more of this foundation and get to the point in time where then you graduate on to some of these other tiers like the growth phase and the speculative phase. Next is picking actively managed funds with high expense ratios in the foundation tier. You want to make sure that you're looking at the expense ratios and how much these funds cost, because if you have a higher expense ratio, they can underperform the S&P 500 dramatically just because of how much you have in your expense ratio. Now, expense ratio is not the only reason not to invest in a fund. You need to dive deeper into what the fund has done historically, but I want you to make sure that you are looking at this because if they are charging 5 to 10 times the fees, that is going to be pretty high. Now, a good expense ratio is anything above 0.30% or less, 30 basis points or less. That is going to be the point in time where you want to look at this and go from there. Not investing in the foundation during debt payoff. Now, the third one is not investing in the foundation when you have low interest debt. I have seen too many people prioritize low interest debt and not invest whatsoever. Maybe they're trying to pay off their mortgage or they're trying to pay off their car loan, but it's a 3 to 4% loan. No, you want to make sure that you are still investing your dollars for your financial future in the foundation, especially. And then the last one is holding too much cash in the name of being safe. Now, anything outside of your core emergency fund and your SWAN number, if you're just holding cash to hold it, or you're holding it for the right time to buy into the market, that is a ridiculous thing to do. You want to make sure that you're getting your dollars invested so they are working more for you. Now, let's talk about some of the common mistakes I see within the growth tier, which is going to make up about 15% of your portfolio or less. This is going to be overloading on a single sector. So I have seen too many people who are not diversified enough in their growth tier portfolio, and they start to end up overemphasizing their portfolio. Maybe you're investing too much in healthcare, or if your day job is in healthcare and then you're investing in other healthcare companies because that is what you know, well, you are pretty heavily weighted in healthcare and you don't even know it. Also, is letting the growth tier creep above 15%. I see this happen a lot unless you're really good in some specific area, or let's say your strategy going forward is you think you want to double down on dividend growth investing. Well, that's completely fine, and you can move that as part of your foundational portfolio, but you want to make sure that you know what you're doing. If you creep outside of this, 15% range, that is going to be something that really doesn't make a ton of sense for most investors out there. Now, for some, it does. We can talk about this with individual stocks. We can talk about with some of these other ones, but this is something that you just want to make sure that you're watching out for and you understand what percentage of your portfolio is in this growth tier. Also, chasing last year's top performers. I have seen a lot of people chasing gold right now, chasing silver, or chasing Bitcoin at its highs. How many of you bought Bitcoin at 120,000 because you saw everybody else getting in there, and all of a sudden now, at the time of recording this, it's at, $66,000. Well, if that's the case, you felt this pain before where you're chasing last year's top performing sector instead of looking for the next thing. Especially in the growth tier, you got to be able to identify some of the things that are worth investing more in. And then the last thing is confusing growth with speculation. Too many investors invest in things like Bitcoin or gold or silver too early. I think this needs to come later on in the line. That is my opinion. You could do your own research, but that is my opinion. Now, what are the biggest mistakes with the speculation tier? Again, remember, this is your Bitcoin, gold, silver, those types of things, 5 to 10% of your portfolio. Well, starting here instead of the foundation is number one. Most people, again, like I talked about, start in the wrong order, especially when they're young and they don't know what they're doing. Do not start with the speculation phase. You got to start with the foundation first. You got to put in your dues. You got to earn your stripes before you can get to the point in time where you can invest in some of these. Now, treating speculation like a savings account is something that I've seen a lot of people do. They've saved their money in a speculation account thinking that over time they can utilize this as their emergency fund because they have a longer time horizon. Do not do that. Making sure you have this in the right spot is going to be important. Also, 3 is people who use sports betting as part of their speculation percentage. Do not do that. Betting or gambling is not part of speculation. It is not part of investing whatsoever. That is not investing. You're just gambling. And so you cannot use that as part of your speculation tier. That is very important. 4 is not going over 10%. Do not go over 10% if you're trying to look at speculative assets. It just doesn't make sense with a lot of folks. Now, if you can come up with a good reason that you can put into your investment plan, that is completely fine. But for me, it doesn't make a ton of sense. And in the speculation tier, the last thing I'll say is emotional trading. I've seen a lot of people get emotional, and the reason why they get into these speculative assets is because they got emotional. They feel like they've missed a boat, and so they try to get in these too late. And a lot of times, for most of you, this is an emotional area to invest your dollars. And so that's one that I want you to make sure that you are not making as well. Now, the universal mistake that I see people make across all sectors is not having the foundation fully funded before they move on to the next steps. The foundation needs to be fully funded. Before you can move on to some of these other steps, it needs to be what you truthfully have in place for your first few $100,000. Then you can move on to some of these other steps. Until then, spend all of your time trying to build up that foundation, and then you can add in some diversification as time goes on.